he took it to another level and made chess a sexy sport, didn't he?
He made chess a glamour sport. He inspired youngsters to play. And so, I mean, Indian chess owes a big debt to Vishwanathan Anand.
And one more thing about Vishy Anand was that he was not the typical Indian sports person. He went for the kill, he played aggressively. He wasn't content to be soft-spoken and laid back.
Yes, though by temperament he is soft-spoken, but I mean, I recall that match with Garry Kasparov. I mean, Garry Kasparov is one of the world's all-time great players, and briefly Anand was ahead of him, and many of us here felt that maybe a great upset is on the cards. But Garry Kasparov did come back. But so Anand could show he could compete with the best.
Well, Anand showed that he could compete with the best, and he became world champion in 2001. Let's move on now. Now, Indian shooting is on a high these days. More Indians have won medals in shooting than any other sport in the last couple of years. The success story started in 1994 when Jaspal Rana became the first Indian shooter to be world champion.
He was just 18, a young man on his way to greatness. So talented was Jaspal Rana that his peers marveled at his nerves of steel. At an age when people are leaving school, Rana was a junior world champion in 1994 with a world record in standard pistol.
Nobody expected that I will shoot that well, and beside of I was not well. Nobody thought that the score is going to be that high that I'll shoot a world record. So it was like something out of the blue. I got the medal.
That feat catapulted him into the big league. He was the poster boy of Indian shooting, which was struggling to find new stars. The same year, he carried that form into the Commonwealth Games in Canada. Rana won 2 gold, 1 silver and 1 bronze. At the Hiroshima Asiad, he won gold with a new record, capping a magnificent year.
Father was like completely after me. He left his job for me. He spent like a lot of money, whatever. Like my mother sold the jewelry, and that was a risk taken by them. I was lucky that I came to that level that they wanted me to.
Rana was just starting on a journey which would make him one of India's most successful shooters. He broke all records at the 1995 Commonwealth Shooting Championships, winning 8 gold, each a new record. And even today, he's still among the best.
No, he was the poster boy, wasn't he? And what a dramatic entry into international shooting in 94. The Commonwealth gold, the Asian Game gold, and the World Championship.
Yes, amazing, absolutely. And I recall when we went to Milan for the World Junior, his motorbike had got stolen. But this is what is the greatness of Jaspal Rana. He doesn't let these disappointments upset his rhythm. And luckily for him, in fact, when he came back after the winning the Asian Games gold, his sponsor, Samir Thapar of JCT, who was a great patron of sports, got him a new car. And Jaspal Rana was a sensation. I mean, he brought Indian shooting into the limelight.
And he spoke about something there, didn't he, that it didn't matter for him if he was not well. For him, and those of us who've seen him shoot, it's all about the technique. If you get the technique right, you may be not well, but then you will win.
Yes, the technique, and again sheer consistency. I mean, 2006, the Doha Asian Games, again he did India proud, 12 years after winning in 94 in Hiroshima.
Right.
Very few sportsmen have had such consistency. The 4th Asian Games and still the best in the continent.
Well, one very briefly, one thing very definitive about Jaspal Rana is that he's anti-establishment, but he continues to defy them and keeps on winning.
Yes, when he started, he was a sort of like a pin-up boy, 18-year-old sensation. But as he's grown, he has taken on the establishment, but still not let his performances dip. And creditably, for what Jaspal Rana has really done, has also because of his success and the way he's brought shooting into the headlines, he spawned the whole generation. Rathore, Manavjit Sandhu, and Abhinav Bindra, they all got into this sport because of Jaspal Rana.
Well, Jaspal Rana, the trailblazer. Thank you, Novi, for joining us and talking to us about all these legends. And as what we do now, we'll go into a break. When we come back, we look at 2 sensational debuts. Welcome back. One of the most abiding memories of India's win over England earlier this week was that of Saurav Ganguly hugging Rahul Dravid after India won. It was a sense of deja vu. 11 years back, a similar scene had unfolded. Two of Indian cricket's future stars had announced their arrival at cricket's home with a bang.
The home of cricket was perhaps an ironic venue for a man seen as an outsider to make his test debut. Saurav Ganguly had battled fierce criticism, a doubting cricket fraternity and the devils in his own mind to reach here. Now he needed to silence the wagging tongues.
That's through the gap. Beautifully played.
A few hours and more than a few sublime shots later, the moment arrived. 100 on debut. The battle is won.
Bring up your century.
In the same dressing room sat a man already coronated as the heir apparent to the great art of Indian batsmanship. Rahul Dravid strode out quietly at Lord's but faced his own moment of truth. Batting at an unfamiliar number 7, Dravid's display was all about resolve and determination. It got him to 95, but heartbreakingly he fell short. 5 runs was all that separated him from joining Ganguly on the Lord's honours board. No one could have predicted entirely how pivotal the two men would become in Indian cricket's new generation. No one definitely would have told you at Lord's that Saurav Ganguly would become one of India's best captains ever, inspiring a generation of cricketers to play with aggression. A journey that began on a warm Lord's afternoon has become one of Indian cricket's enduring legacies.
And that's all we have on this show. Goodbye.
As part of our celebration of 60 years of Indian sports, we are asking you, the viewer, to tell us who you think is the greatest Indian sportsperson post-independence. Log on to ibnlive.com or SMS us at 2622 to vote for your choice. On the last episode of the show, Indian sports hits an all-time high. Anil Kumble takes the perfect 10, while Saurav Ganguly turns the team into battle-hardened world beaters. Anju Bobby George scales new heights in athletics. Maleshwari and Rathore stand on the Olympic podium. An epic journey comes to an end. Indian sports reached its zenith as it headed into the 21st century. Rajyavardhan Rathore and Karnam Maleshwari were on the Olympic podium. Anil Kumble scored a perfect 10, while Leander and Mahesh were top of the charts. In terms of sporting success, nothing can match this decade. We are on the home stretch of this remarkable journey. This is the 6th and last episode as we look back at the defining moments of Indian sports in the last 60 years. I'm Digvijay Singhdeo, and today we look at perhaps the best overall decade for Indian sports, a decade in which Indian sportspersons won across the board. Let's start with cricket. The scenes of celebration that followed Anil Kumble's maiden test run at the Oval this week will be remembered for a long time. But as a bowler, Kumble's demolition job of Pakistan in 1999 will always be extra special. The smiling assassin became only the second man in Test cricket to take 10 wickets in an innings. And after that, Indian cricket didn't look back, enjoying a bull run under the leadership of Saurav Ganguly.
The 7th of February 1999, Delhi's Firoz Shah Kotla, India versus Pakistan. The visitors off to a great start, chasing 420 for a 2-0 series win. And then the ball was handed to this man. What followed was a demolition job by the smiling assassin. Anil Kumble was quite simply unplayable. Flippers, googlies and top spinners, they were all on show. 26.3 overs later, Kumble was carried back to the dressing room on the shoulders of his teammates. He had taken all 10 wickets in that innings.
What a performance!
The wicket looked so good, and all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. I think it was Afridi's dismissal that started the entire process. And then within no time, we saw Anil was, hitting the right line, the right length. I think, he bowled as if, he was possessed. I think 7th wicket was the time when we all realized that there is a possibility that he might go for all 10. And then when the 8th wicket fell, I think we were 10% sure that I think he should take all 10.
2 years later came another unforgettable moment. Down a match and trailing by an innings against Steve Waugh's all-conquering Australian side, India was staring down the barrel. But VVS Lakshman in the company of Rahul Dravid scripted a fairy tale at the Eden Gardens. Lakshman scored 281, then the highest individual score in Test cricket for India. Dravid made 180. The pair batted through the day, adding 376. Harbhajan Singh provided the cherry on the cake, picking up 13 wickets as a march on 16 straight Test wins came to an end.
In my opinion, I think this one will be the best Test match ever played. I think coming back almost from the death to conquer the world leaders, I think that was a humongous performance from VVS Lakshman.
The 2003 World Cup saw the Ganguly-John Wright combination reach its zenith. The Great Indian Huddle became a household term as the men in blue shrugged off an indifferent start by rolling into the finals, where they lost to defending champions Australia.
One of the reasons why Saurav was very successful for that period was because he was one amongst us. It was easy to communicate. It was easy to, have an argument with him. Obviously, that gave us some kind of easiness to operate with Saurav. And that's the reason I think things started changing.
A year later, Ganguly led a team to Pakistan, the first time in 15 years. India won both the one-day and the Test series, a historic high with some incredible individual performances. Sehwag scoring the first ever triple century by an Indian at Multan, and Dravid made 270 in the series decider in Rawalpindi.
Some great moments there. And